was a big place near residence zone. Didn't really have any. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It is.
But the easiest way to do it
Yeah.
is just create a new zone. And then you can have to rezone what you want. The inmates, you have to accomplish that by rezoning.
Been a long week for a Tuesday. Okay,
No, I don't know what we're sure. But I can see that
It's pretty good.
because you're talking about drones.
Yes.
It's just a strip.
Previously, originally bought us in that just by 2 pieces of ground that was on each side of it.
It's 7:02, and I call this meeting of the Carl Judson City Council to order. I apologize for being late. Will clerk please call the roll?
Bill McGuire.
Here.
Todd Lee. Mike Burke.
Here.
Rick Flynn.
Here.
Paul Maskey.
Here.
David Pyle.
Here.
Roger Spencer. Lynn Allen.
We all please stand and join me in our pledge of allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you pray with me? Gracious God, as we come to you this day to begin another session of the Carl Junction Board of Alderman, help us to be mindful of those who paid the ultimate price for the preservation of our democracy and our freedom through their actions. Let us to do honor to them in their memory. So in your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Rich. Next is approval of the agenda. Are there comments or corrections to the agenda?
I move we change item number 7, ordinances, to a discussion on the Lakeside Park shelter and playground.
second.
Motion by Holly Levine, second by LaDon Allen, that we change number 7 ordinances to a discussion on the Lakeside Park shelter and playground. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 the affirmative, 1 absent. The agenda is now amended. Now, are there any more comments or corrections to the amended agenda?
Will we approve the amended agenda?
Second.
Motion by Rick Flynn, second by Holly Levine, we approve the amended agenda. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 the affirmative, with 1 absent. The approved agenda, amended agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting and approval of disbursements. Are there any comments or corrections to the consent agenda?
I do have one thing on the minutes, and I know this is like a technical thing, but in the section where we're talking about the Lakeside project, and it said LaDonna Allen confirmed that we would be paying half of that contract. Technically, I inquired and Steve confirmed.
Oh, under the approval of bids for Lakeside Park.
Yeah. Yeah, because just so later I went back and double checked. So it's a kind of a technical thing, but and with that, I move we approve the consent agenda with that amendment.
Second.
We need to approve the amendment. Mr. Talley, the correction, we need to approve vote on approving the first.
Well, I would, I think you could do it in one motion. to be
Okay.
efficient.
Okay.
So I
Who
was first
seconded
and
it?
David, were you
Okay.
second?
Motion by Don Allen, second by David Powell, we approve the consent agenda as corrected by LaDonna Allen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 70 affirmative, one absent. The consent agenda is also approved. Next is public forum. Anyone wishing to speak in public forum? Last call for public forum. Very well, then we'll move along. Next is a year-end review of the area agency on aging.
Council members, mayor, thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Shotwell. I'm the executive director for the Area Agency on Aging. We cover from corner to corner 4 counties, provide services and supports to older adults age 60 and over in every space of those 4 counties. Tonight I want to talk about Carl Junction. We closed our fiscal year June 30th, just underwent our audit. And I thought you would be interested in some data, some facts from our year. What we do here, and I say we, because we could not do this without the city. And we could not have a senior center without the seniors who participate. I think it's important for you to know what that looks like. Nonprofit agencies and city governments are run by data, so I'd like to throw some data at you. We saw 387 people at the senior center this last fiscal year. 387 people from 24 counties and 11 states. You might even say that this is a tourist destination, but certainly it is a place where friends, loved ones come to visit, and they want to be brought here. That spirit of welcome that is given makes it an important focal point in the community. So of those 387 people, all older adults. 46% of them are over the age of 75. And that's interesting because 5 years ago when I started with this agency, the vast majority, 60%, 65% or more, were over 75. So we are seeing younger and younger, older adults, if you will, coming to access services. Recovering from COVID has been tough. A lot of studies came out, a lot of good studies, and things that in the aging industry we already knew, that social isolation and loneliness leads to cognitive decline. And a center where folks can gather and share a meal and participate in activities greatly diminishes that loneliness and social isolation. So 15,899 meals were shared in the senior center this year. That is a lot of socialization. Sharing a meal with somebody is one of the most important things. Also, we recognize that folks that are struggling, especially with the economy, and you all know from your own bank accounts and checkbooks how the prices of food, utilities, everything has increased. We saw a need in our community to provide some extra supports for our most vulnerable citizens. So in addition to our home delivered meals, Meals on Wheels, if you will, in addition to those 6,354 meals that were delivered, thanks to our kitchen staff and our lovely volunteers that deliver, we also were able to provide 4,423 pounds of extra groceries, laundry soaps, cleaning supplies, paper goods. That's 2.5 tons almost that we received at the center and then dispersed into the community where it was most needed. We not only just have senior center and activities, but we did share 3,434 hours of recreation and physical fitness. Another key ingredient in aging healthy and aging at home. People want to be in the community. Things that we support and services we provide help people age where they want to be, in their homes, in Carl Junction. I'm not only the executive director of the Area Agency on Aging, I live here. We chose to move here. My husband comes to eat at the senior center. He's age eligible for the program. My family now lives here. I have 3 grandchildren that are in Carl Junction. And it is a place I want to stay, and I know from talking to folks, nursing homes aren't for everybody. And we know that simple services and supports, that because the city donates us the space and the equipment, that we can provide our funding into those services and supports to keep people here in Carl Junction rather than going to nursing home care. Nursing home care averages about $5,570 a month right now. And just because people need a wheelchair ramp or they can't get around or get to the store doesn't mean they're ready to incur that kind of cost, most of which we as taxpayers will end up funding. 1 in 5 people right now are over the age of 65 in Missouri. By 2030, that number is going to be closer to 1 in 4. In fact, for the first time since the very first census in 1776, we have more people in this country over the age of 65 than we do under the age of 18. We're talking an incredible amount of people, and you can check census on that data. That's valid data. So in addition to the senior center, and because we enjoy such a great relationship with the city, and we don't have to concern ourselves with the overhead that some of my sister area agencies on aging have, who also have wait lists as long as mine are for services. We've built wheelchair ramps for people in Carl Junction. We've also helped them with case management. We had 520 hours that we spent with folks here in the community, helping them access utility assistance, Medicare Part D savings programs, Medicaid applications, anything that we can do to help ease the burden. There are so many programs out there, people don't know where to turn. We're a one-stop shop, and we don't favor any one company over another. Also, as we age, we end up caring for our loved ones that need 24-hour care. That is quite a burden on people. And in this day and age, with families states apart, and the sense of community, your neighbors helping your neighbors. Sometimes people don't have that. Maybe they're alone, maybe they just moved here, maybe their family is gone. We provided over 400 hours of respite care for folks in this community. That means if you're caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's, that's a 24-hour job. We're able to send in several times a week a skilled certified nurse's aide to come in and give you a 3-hour break, take a nap, go get your hair done, go to evening service. Those kind of services and supports are important. So we always say that it's so much more than a meal that we provide. And a lot of times we lose focus in that we just come over here for lunch. We do an awful lot more, and the data supports that. In addition to all of those, we actually provided 4 people 36 rides to dialysis. Those resources are very precious. If I can say that there's one thing that Southwest Missouri lacks to age in place, it's transportation. When you lose the ability to get where you need to be, that doesn't mean you're ready to go to nursing home care. It means you need a ride. So we're very happy to have provided those folks that service. So again, 15,900 meals, that's an awful lot. That's an awful lot of sitting together, neighbor and neighbor, meeting new friends, and then having it be a welcoming place for people that are moving into the community. Nothing like breaking bread with someone. I can't imagine living alone, which 46% of our seniors do, and not having someone to share a meal with. So it is a community that takes care of our community members. It's not just the city's burden, and it's not just the nonprofit burden. It is a coordinated system of services and supports. And each year, when I look at the data overall, and I see the demand increasing and the funding shrinking and not keeping up with inflation, I have to step back and say, you know what, we're not doing this alone. We're doing this together. And I just wanted to thank you all for that, truly, because Carl Junction is a place where I want to grow old in. And my mission for my job is to make sure that this program continues and this relationship with our cities continues. So it's there when I'm ready for it. So thank you. And I would answer any questions that you might have for me about the center.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
I
We really
appreciate it.
are.
And I do truly have a grateful heart. People don't think about growing old. In fact, it happens so quick. You know what I mean?
Tell me about it.
It does, and you find that there's no handle. We prepare our children for life. We prepare them for school, for college, for marriage. We prepare them for their first home buy. Nobody prepares us. So I'm very proud to do what I do and very proud to live in Coral Junction.
So when you talk about 36 rides for dialysis, is that just what you can do, or is there a greater need for rides?
There is a huge need. We actually fund OATS significantly every year. And that is a limited service. We're wishing there were better options. We actually contract with Grace Baptist Church to do medical transport. They're already set up to have buses. And they go all over the greater Joplin area, well, as far as Orono goes. So we select carefully, prioritize low income, at-risk people for those rides. Boy, I wish funding would rain from the sky and I could have a bus system for ourselves.
Anything else?
Questions? Again, thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much.
Well, very well. We'll move on now to a discussion about the Lakeside Park and Shelter Playground.
To help, if you have any questions for Ari Smith, Clint is here with him. He's actually a Coral Junction resident also with his family. So,
And I have Darian Parker, who's one of our managers too, so hopefully we can answer anything you guys need.
Hi, Clint. We have a lot of questions about the pavilion budget.
I will do my best. Remember, we're a contractor, so we didn't design it, so what we can talk to is the constructability of it, and then maybe what we can do to help get it in budget if that's something that we want to discuss.
Yeah, so right now we're looking at $450,000 for a pavilion, which to me seems crazy. Like we can build a whole giant house for that much, so.
Yeah, ever since COVID, after that, obviously construction costs have risen. I was happy that we were low, right? We wanted the job. We like Carl. I love Carl. And yeah, so we put some good numbers together to it. So you know that it was a good price put together. Me and Steve had discussions a little bit earlier today. There's potentially some things we can look at. Obviously, there's different construction methods that we can look at. Things such as what we had discussed, maybe some revisions to the floor plan. Maybe there's some revisions to the site that we need to look at. I think the big things that Steve had discussed was making sure that we have bathrooms, obviously a two-hole is what we call it in the construction world. And then maybe a little bit of a mechanical room or a chase between the two, and then maybe make the structure itself a little bit smaller. I think depending on what the grant said, depending on what size square foot it has to be, to make sure that you guys get fully funded with everything that's in place. I think that's, like you guys discussed earlier, I think that's one big thing that you gotta make sure of. Second thing, anything that you guys wanna look at, we're on board with. We're fine to tailor make whatever needs to happen to make the budget fit with what we have. So yeah, please ask questions you can think of. I can do the best I can to answer them.
Based on grant requirements, I guess, but is it feasible to cut the price in half or more?
It depends on what you want. So Steve and I again had talked earlier today, and if you look at the square foot of a project, so me and Gary actually had the same conversation earlier today. When you look at the square foot of a project, does that encompass just the building? Does that encompass the infrastructure? Does that encompass the site work, or does that encompass everything? So you have to look at all those components broken down into each individual piece. So the building itself, and I'm just gonna throw numbers out here, you can't quote me this. The building itself, the structure itself, maybe at 150, right? The rest of the whole project, maybe at 275 or 300. So then Steve's idea, great idea, start whittling away at the biggest piece, which obviously was the structure. Again, constructability is what we like to look at. We do a lot of construction management. And of those pieces, what are the components that we can change to make the construction cheaper? Obviously, block construction, hard to beat. You get the sledgehammer, right? It's going to last a long, long time. Maybe there's roofing components that we can look at to change. Again, I wasn't privy to the grant, so I don't know what we have to do to maintain our, essentially your longevity of the project, to make sure that there's not any maintenance issues you guys are going to have long term. But yeah, it's hard to speak to how can we cut half of that project out of it? I look at it and say, how much of that do we want to be, how much of the money do we want to spend on the actual park itself, on the actual play structure, on the actual servicing, on the actual aesthetics of the grounds? I think that's one thing that we need to look at. Another thing, do we have to have the 2 bathrooms? Like Steve had told me earlier, a good idea. Shrink that mechanical space, make it a chase instead of an actual mechanical room. As long as the grant would provide for that, we're on board to do whatever you need to do. I think looking at everything, I had asked him earlier, I said, do we have to have concrete? We know it's ADA, right? But do we have to have concrete? I think that was one of the things in the grant, you have to have concrete. So trying to think through those items that we can do to shrink the budget, but still give the project the look and feel of what you're wanting or what we're wanting. That's for you guys to decide. We need to help you get there. So
This might be a very stupid question, but we haven't seen like the blueprint. I haven't seen the breakdown. Is this an open pavilion? Like you talked about the concrete block, is that just the restroom and the mechanical room and the rest is open?
correct, yeah, an open pavilion outside of that, correct.
I really like what you're mentioning about trying to whittle down, and that's, I think, what we're all on board with. Kind of to help with that, we would really love to have seen a real itemized, breakdown of where these costs are coming from. Like you said, don't quote you, but the 150,000 maybe is going towards the pavilion and other costs. Is there a way that we can kind of get it real itemized so we can kind of help with, maybe we don't need this and we don't need this, and we can help to kind of whittle down some of that stuff?
There is, and I'll be upfront and honest, what we get nervous about in the construction industry is unethical behavior. I'm not saying that's from the board, normally it's from our competition. So what happens is during a bidding scenario, our company in our letterhead, in our memorandum, it's ethics. Number one, forefront. We have a problem again. In this area, when we share information, it gets out in the street. So before we get a contract, it's hard, and I'm not saying I got a dollar value. If we just said, hey, if we do this project, it's going to be with Ari Smith, I would share you every single penny I can. My problem right now is if somebody was to sunshine law us right now, we'd have to provide that information to them. If my schedule of values, if that's called, was in that, that would become now public information, and my competition would then have my information. I hope you understand that. I'm happy to help any way I can. In our construction management world, we do a lot of agreements that are based on a handshake. It just says, if this project goes forward and if we get a budget that we're all happy with, you're going to do the project. No money exchanges hands, nothing more than just a written agreement. That helps me protect myself, because then somebody, sunshine laws is right, who cares? I'm going to do the job. If it goes forward, they can see everything they want. So being very candid to you guys, making sure you understand where we're coming from. If we start sharing items and it gets to the public, and then I don't get the project and my competition sees it, and the project goes out and bids again, I've actually shot myself in the foot by helping. And not that I'm saying anybody would do that. I've been around this industry for almost 30 years now, and I know how it happens. It's never from this group. It's not here. So happy to help. My thing is, I would love to at least just get something in writing that said, hey, if this project goes forward, no money, just if this project goes forward, we're able to come together as a group and get this ready. Ari Smith's going to do it. And then I would share every single thing I've got. Hope that's an honest answer for you.
Thank you.
How about that, Mr. Kelly?
I mean, I get that, but
That's
if you're into a class, you're not gonna write a check for $1,000 if you don't know what it's for.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
I understand what you're saying, but if I'm in my home and I have a service person there and they want me to just write them a check for $1,000 and I have no clue what it's for,
Yeah, don't do that.
that seems silly.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So there's a contract made by the architects, the AIA, it's called an A133. And it's set up for exactly situations like this, where negotiations start between a school or a city and a contractor. And what it's doing is it's keeping everybody's best interest at heart. And what it says is that I'm going to work with you guys, you're going to work with me, and then if we can come up with an agreement at the end, then I will do it, and we'll do it as a team. It really takes away that hard-bid, old GC income, that old GC feel, and it pulls everybody together as a team.
Design build.
It's very similar. It's actually even less stringent than that, because it's more, you guys are telling me what I'm going to do, rather than a contract saying, X, Y, and Z is what's on the paper, and that's how much it costs. We are dealing in generalities. we do so many of those contracts, there's no money. There's no money whatsoever. It is all negotiation. So again, I can tell you the bid breakdown, except for what we provided with the bid proposal. Everybody had the same thing. It was very similar. But to start giving away that information that I've got that got me low, that's when I started getting hurt. So I hope you guys understand that. But I want to do the project. I just, again, there's people out there that will come in at the first possibility and undermine that. So that's where we have to keep ourselves safe. I hate having this conversation. I have it all the time with school boards and city councils all the time. So
I don't know if you were in on any of the earlier discussion, but we've asked, they have emailed Moparks to see if we can change the scope of some of the features. If we can do that, how long do you think it would take you to put together new numbers based on like an adjusted, maybe, like say, size of the pavilion itself, and to make some of these changes?
Sure. If it doesn't get, if we're not having to change like site grading or site utilities, and we're really just dealing with the building itself, I don't see why in 10 days I could get you something back really solid.
One thought was to decrease that cost and then possibly take some of that savings, put it into the playground equipment itself. Because that's the whole point of the place.
Yes, please.
is the playground.
Yeah, I'm up for anything. I mean, again, me and Darian talked today while we were trying to, come up with things, because we wanted to come up with ideas too. We just, Steve was better. Yeah, whatever we need to do to make the project work and for whatever budget we're on, whatever it is.
Does this include them putting in the water and sewer?
Yes.
Okay, because that's quite an expense there, because the sewer is not close to.
Like that's an expensive sewer project because it takes a grinder pump.
Yeah.
To put in, and grinder pumps are not cheap.
That's one of the reasons.
But that includes running it from to the site. All of that is included.
Yeah, yes, all the way, because you gotta go underneath Barbara Drive to.
You go across Barbara Drive.
I was actually surprised when I saw that number, because I really thought
Okay,
that
but
part
is
of
that
it would be
for the
higher. That's the
utilities
whole
at
part.
28K?
Yeah, that's the same utilities, yeah.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with the pavilion cost.
That's for the plumbing, so that would provide.
For the bathrooms.
sewer and water to the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I know, but it says 28,000 for utilities already, not
The-
included in the $450,000.
Right.
Pavilion.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
that's,
That's on top of.
I am speaking for myself, but I've also have not heard anybody up here say they don't want to do this project. I think it's just the scale of it and the fact that we would really like to see more go into the playground itself, because that's supposed to be the center of the whole project. So I don't think anybody here is against getting that playground into that ward and getting a pavilion. It's got to be reasonable, because it looks bad if you have, a $660,000 project and only $100,000 of that is able to be playground.
So, and again, I think looking at the grant, I'd be happy to do it. I look at these things all the time to see what those items are that you have to have. Because again, if we switch a structure, we change the structure, maybe there's cheaper components that we can use that still have longevity. Block, like I said earlier, it lasts forever and there's not much maintenance to it. But sometimes what you've got to look at is, does the cost today outweigh what we're going to pay in maintenance in the future? So if you knew that you had to maybe paint steel every 5 to 10 years, and that would cost over the life of the project $25,000, but it was able to save $80,000, that's $65,000 credit back to the city or back to the project. To me, that's the kind of things that we like looking at. So again, all those items, checking the boxes to say this is what we have to do, and then maybe here's the things we don't really have to do but want to do, and then maybe here's the other things that we really don't have to do, this X it off. And maybe that's a good shopping list that we could put together to say, what do we have to have?
So the two biggest requirements on the grant is prevailing wage.
Yeah.
And Buy American. So we have to make sure that all of the product is in. Buy American, I have no problem with that. It does raise the cost a little bit, but you know what you're getting and you know what kind of quality you're getting when it's that way, because
I think it was at the conference that can be a requirement, but there's also a waiver to get around that if it's going to take too long to get the equipment or something like that.
Luckily, around this area, we have some awesome supply houses. And most of them already are on board with the Buy America. I mean, if we buy block from Midwest, if we buy fixtures from Tropical Supply, if we, all these places that we buy stuff for, most of those already have a stamp of Buy America on them. So we were good to go during bidding. There was a few toilet accessories that me and Darren had looked at that we were like, well, do these really meet this? We better go with a little bit more expensive one. We do waivers all the time for those things, mostly schools, because for some reason, a lot of mechanical equipment, even though it's assembled in the United States, is actually in Korea. So they do the waiver to get that material pushed through. I don't think on this project we have a problem. With the majority of it right now being block, metal roofing, that kind of thing. I think it wouldn't be that big of a deal to change.
rebar will be a big,
Yes, yeah.
there's a lot of rebar in it.
Harrison Rebar and I can't remember. Oh my gosh, Whip City, company over in Whip City, Standard Iron, they just got bought. So I don't know what kind of impact that's gonna have on the Buy American market. And from what I can tell, it's a Japanese company. So it's those little things like that. We didn't use them just for, they've been squirrely for the last couple of years, but most of the rebar, the way you get around the Buy America is they fabricate it here. So it's actually peeled and screened in the United States. It was American metal. It went to Japan. It got refined. It got sent back over here, and then we refined it more. So you still get the Buy America stamp on it. It was American steel to start with. Went over there and came back. So that is still in the Build America. So there's we've been doing this a long time. And there's all these little things like that. You're like, well, I got to make sure I've got my stamp. I got to make sure I got my certification. That's how you do it.
To confirm it, I had asked about this in Crystal Head, and Steve had got a reply, but on the bid, it had like the pavilion and improvements. Well, that will include like walkways, paths, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how we broke that down. It's a pretty good description in the specs. I didn't bring them with me of what was supposed to be included in each component. Because obviously there's a big hill that we have to knock out. So that part of that site improvement was actually a part of the pavilion pricing.
T-box.
Yeah.
It's a T-box.
Yeah, it's exactly. I wasn't going to say that out loud. The rest of, most of that stuff was part of the pavilion price. So then if we came in and we shift it this way and we don't have as much site work, maybe that's those little things that we need to look at to tweak. But yeah, you're right. I mean, all those things went into that infrastructure or into the pavilion price.
Good. Well, and that's why I just want to make sure, looking at total cost of project, that we weren't going to need to come in later and then do like more concrete paths.
Oh, I can promise you this, something that I've been with this company for a long time. When we get a set of plans and specs, when we sign on the dotted line, if it's in those plans and specs, we ain't going to give you another nickel to change it for it. You get everything that's in there. So yeah, I understand your question. It's a very valid question. But, yeah, we've got it covered. It's in those documents. I promise you that.
I just have a question about, so the process, we took this out for bid, and now we're considering wholesale changes, right? And so what does that look like? Kind of a bait and switch to the bid process. We asked for bids on something, and we're wanting that agreement, that, the handshake deal, and but if it's completely changed project at this point, we don't need to reopen those.
And the only thing you're doing is changing at this discussion, the only thing you're doing is changing the footprint of the pavilion. It still has everything that the grant said, a pavilion and 2 bathrooms. It's still got all of that in there.
If you were to throw a number at it, I mean, we're considering maybe a 33%, reduction in costs and moving things over here, and that just seems like a big change that
Without
we didn't.
working with Clint on it,
Sure.
I'm not gonna put a percentage.
Okay, but I'm just saying it seems like a pretty major change what we're thinking about, you know.
And
So,
I see what he's saying. I mean, is it legal for us to change the scope of that much
I'm not a lawyer, I'll tell you.
and not give anybody, I see what you're saying, because it may have been bid different if it was spec different, but
Since we were talking about area agency on aging, we built the Joplin Senior Center. That project bid $5.5 million. I got a contract. It ended at 3.5. What we did was called value engineering. So the budget was one number. We worked together to get to the budget number that the city wanted and needed, and then we built the project. That's kind of that same thing that I'm talking about, where everybody knows that the team that's on board now, already the hard work has gone into it. Everybody gets together on that same page and says, we have an end goal, we're not changing the team now, and this is where we're going. So, great question, happens all the time. Like I said, it's called value engineering.
I think the real question would be whether the source of the grant, when we reduce the project this much, whether they will require
Make
it
us.
to be redid.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any principle that would, apart from that would require a rebid of this project.
Which is what the question was that we put to Mopars was, if we reduce the size of the pavilion,
Are we good to go? Or-
are we good to go?
I do like the fact that you say you are willing to, even if we say not just reduce the size. I like the fact that you are willing to try to help us find areas that we can maybe change out some stuff and save, because as long as you know that our main goal is to try to cut this. So,
Completely understand.
Well, I think two goals. One is, for me, in my opinion, is to reduce the cost of that pavilion, add cost to the playground equipment itself, and also reduce the overall cost of the project. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
three things.
So can I ask you a silly question? Is it one grant or two grants? One grant, and value-wise, what they gave, you can put to whatever you want. So where I was going was, if we come back and say, the pavilion's at $250, and we're gonna spend $350,000 on the playground, that's not a component or a stipulation that say, oh, no, you can't do that.
No, there's a very basic budget breakdown in the grant.
Okay.
There's dirt work and playground, yeah,
Gotcha,
it's
okay.
very basic.
All right. I've been on the other end of that where in Cassville, they just finished a $1.5 million playground. Where do they get this money?
Walmart.
They had the opposite problem. They thought they were going to get this grant because they were doing all this open air stuff and COVID sent, I don't know what it was called, but there's a big, huge grant at all these school districts to open air classrooms. They put all this flat work in, and they came out and said, well, this is a playground. And they said, well, it's within a playground. They said, no, it's a playground. So they didn't get any money on that portion of it, which it wasn't a huge amount, but I'm just trying to throw these things out here to make sure that we, look at every component to make sure. It doesn't sound like this one is the same thing, because it's not a open grant, but theirs was totally for open air stuff.
So the grant that we got does not limit us to $100,000 allowance on the playground, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure in case we had to fire off a second one, can we change the size and can we up this before we?
The only thing that, if you get a chance to look at some things for us, I think another idea that we had was, what can we do now and then make it where we can expand later or build onto later. So the 100,000 playground is not what we were hoping for, but of course we can always add components to that later. And it'd be the same with the pavilion. What can we do now that maybe in the future more funding comes available that we can continue to make it more what we were initially envisioning?
That's a great idea. Missouri Southern, we put in a playground about 2019 for them up on the Child Development Center area. And what we did there was we actually put in the curb and then put wood mulch. So it was a heck of a lot cheaper than doing the poured and clay surface. They were ready. We ended up going back, it was 2 summers ago, and putting poured and clay. So it took them about 18 months to get the funding in place, but then exactly just like that. So there's little things definitely we can do. And I think once you guys, I'll let you guys talk around. You guys tell me what you want me to look at. And if you want me to say, go crazy, go see what you can do to make this thing work. Here's our budget. We do that all the time, and we do it for a lot of different components. So we can do that. That's one way to look at it. The other thing is give me a shopping list. Say, here's what we want and have to have. Those 2 different things, want and have to have. And then again, you can put, here's your A+, here's your Mercedes-Benz, and then here's your Yugo. Even though they're both functional projects, right? We're gonna get you those components to make sure. So you just tell me what you need from both of those components. Either way, I don't care.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it, guys. If you guys get any other questions after you talk, we're gonna take these nutty kids home.
I don't like it.
You're out of hand.
They are, they're just bad. Feel free to email me, whatever you guys need. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you very
Thank you so much.
Well, let's move on to long-term projects report. Any questions on long-term projects?
I just have one question on the ARPA water. Is that supposed to be ARPA or MPUA? On the,
7.
yeah,
That is supposed to be the MPUA.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. I just wanted to make sure we were,
and I was thinking because we did apply for that ARPA money through the state,
yeah,
but
and
that
we
was a
just didn't
different.
get it, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't somehow got something and you forgot to surprise us with good news.
When they say they're gonna have the pool assessment ended next month?
Meet with them tomorrow for the initial assessment.
Okay.
And I think we gave them 90 days in that.
Yeah, it was
I
quite a
think so
while.
what it was.
Did we ever receive a second one?
We did, but it was way past the,
It didn't come in way past, I mean, I didn't know it.
yeah, we got it
They
last
didn't.
week.
Okay. Yeah, it was way past, well, I just wanted to make
We-
sure we didn't get anything that was like
No,
crumpled up and fed through a
They forgot
shredder.
to send it.
yeah.
Yeah, I have, they said that she was retiring, so I have a feeling she dropped the ball.
We heard back from anything on the stormwater on Main Street?
Anything else?
Does anybody return the surveys with the water bill?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
That was something I had
It's
to
on my
ask.
desk. It's on my desk.
Yeah, mine's on the table.
We don't get a water bill, and Stuart said he didn't get any kind of,
No, they haven't
We
been
are
mailed
in the
yet.
process of figuring out everyone that's on the bills so that we can mail out letters to all of you also.
not that
Take
I
me
know.
off, take me off the list.
Yeah, the only people that receive are the ones that actually get a water bill.
Okay,
You know, they're the
But
only.
I've had
I
talked
had
to 2
meant-
people in Briarbrook that said they did not get a letter with their water bill. That you mailed.
I didn't get it at home yet, but I got it at the church.
So if a resident does not turn it in, we will have to go to their house to inspect.
Not yet. Probably so. EPA and DNR has not actually said that you have to do that. They are suggesting that you do that. So
They're thinking that they're gonna tell us.
I'm drawing it out
Searching it up.
as long as I can. And we still don't have to report anything to them until October of 24. So we have quite a while to get stuff. And then they didn't say it needed to be a completed report. That's the initial report is all it is, so.
So could you come out to the church and the house and show me what to take a picture of?
Sure. I would do that.
And take the picture.
Yep. You're not the only one I do that for. Rick. I'd do it for anybody. They call and say because
You're gonna get 33.
Wish I knew that before I crawled underneath my house.
I got my picture.
Steve's gonna be busy for the next year.
This will be in the minutes.
The part-time job, part-time job.
You betcha. Now I might look like Harvey.
Harvey.
You want me to send you mine, then you just turn it into?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Just put that down for us too.
Just send that to Steve, put that on all of ours.
Anything else? Very well, then we'll go to treasurer's report. Any comments on treasurer's report? Okay, then we'll go to department reports. First is PD. I see we're not protected here tonight.
I don't feel safe.
Law Enforcement Executive Development Center.
I do have one thing. I talked to the assistant chief and the fire chief both in the same day, and there was a pretty serious accident involving a underage, a juvenile falling off of a golf cart again over in Ward 3, and both of the chiefs stressed and asked if please make the public aware of the danger of having underage, unlicensed kids driving golf carts, or having kids on golf carts in general on the streets. But they're still seeing a problem with that, and they had a teen that had ended up with a skull fracture. So that was one thing that the assistant chief had talked about the other day, that they tried their best to get the word out, but they still ran into a lot of non-compliance.
I can testify to that. I see it every day.
You have to be 16, right, to drive.
You have to have a license.
Have to have a driver's license.
Anything else for PD? What else we got? We got building inspector? No, that was last time. We got Harvey's here with Public Works. Any
Jake's been
questions?
busy. I don't know about Harvey.
I have a question. I guess I can put this under public works here. I was not put it under new business. A resident called on Valley View, and there's a cutout in the street there where looks like some sewer repair was done or something. And just wondering if that's scheduled to kind of be repaired or.
Yeah, we usually, those street cuts usually sit there for a while because we want people to drive over them to compact it. But it is on the list to get. I've actually got one on Miller too that needs to be done. But it might not be in his time frame, but we will get it done.
Okay.
His time frame is pretty short.
I would just thought I would do my diligence and
You betcha.
make sure we mention that.
Anything else? Okay then. We'll go on to committee reports, budget and finance.
Well, we had a meeting at 6:30 to look over funding options for the Lakeside project. And since we've kind of tabled it to rework some of the scope of it, I'm sure that we will probably have more discussion, but hopefully it will free it up and we'll have a little more flexibility. Other than that, we do need to see if maybe Monday about 4:15, if he's willing to do that, that's the day that all the budget committee could take the audit report.
Okay, I will email him in the morning.
And if not, it seems like Monday is about the only day that everybody, it works really good for.
Okay, I will email him in the morning.
And then,
25th, is what we're talking.
yeah, and then if you can do that, then I can get with the budget committee or you can email everything. And of course, that's open also, so if someone wants to do the budget. Or the audit, I'm sorry, the audit report. That's
Anything else for budget? Code nuisance, Rick?
No, sir, nothing at this time.
Human resources. Roger's not here, anybody? Anything in human resources? Okay. Public facilities, Mike.
I think we need to have a meeting, public facilities, just to kind of try to see where we're at on some of our projects. Some of those projects may be kind of time sensitive, at least the dirt work at Country Club Park. We've kind of talked about that a lot, and we'll do it in the fall maybe, but I think it's the fall, so we have to make sure we're just anything that's time sensitive like that we're kind of.
What availability
Well,
in the afternoon?
yes, I'm available, and if LaDonna's hoping to have a meeting at 4:15, I don't know if it'd be a good idea to have that maybe at 3:30, my meeting on the same day for those that are coming in, could come in all at once. That doesn't seem to work for Holly.
Oh, Holly's.
For everybody but Marty.
I can get there shortly after.
So a different day of the week, I think I'm probably available. Any day around 4-ish, what day works.
Well, I don't want to correct you, but it won't be fall till Thursday.
Well, you have until Thursday.
Have the meeting Thursday.
And I know Holly said Tuesdays and Thursdays are not great for her. And Wednesdays are not good for Rick.
Wednesdays.
He has church.
So Fridays are
Or
football night if you take it. So it's basically Monday.
Sunday morning at 11:15.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. That means we cut a sermon short.
We may just have to go with Monday at 3:30 and see if we can
Monday at 3:30,
And then
get
when,
you involved.
you can come in late.
Crusade.
That's the 25th you're looking at.
Yes, sir.
I'm out on that.
Uh-oh.
We'll pick a different day.
We'll put a different day.
we're gonna miss too many people.
So you'll change for Mr. Kyle?
We'll change when there are two conflicts, not just one.
Not just one particular.
Because there are two conflicts.
Do you want to try to do the Monday after, because we can discuss and then we have a meeting the next night?
That'll be fine.
The audit one won't take an hour, probably a half hour, probably.
We could even do like 5 o'clock on Monday, maybe.
Do 5 o'clock on Monday.
Is that too late for you?
Yeah, that's too late for me actually. Soccer practice on Mondays at that point.
What
So,
day are we still-
Tuesday, we can do today. Tuesday the
How about I send out a survey and see when everybody's
be fine.
available on that committee for next week?
that's fine.
Okay.
Is that all?
Yeah, supposed to.
Oh, I have a question about foot golf.
Oh, yeah. We got a list of anyway. The
Are we
football
just gonna pull
stuff.
that closet?
Can we play?
Can we, is
Don't
it
have
in
any
the
holes
closet?
yet.
So it hadn't been installed yet.
That's one of the things on our projects that I kind of want to have a meeting and make sure we know where we're at on some of those things. So,
I think that's a sport.
sooner rather than later. I'd like to have one next week if we can, if you guys are available.
I can come pretty well.
Now that's it.
I don't know. We got to find out. Anybody else have anything? Very well. We'll move on to economic development. Holly.
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday. We are discussing some possible zoning changes, and we are inventorying what spaces we have available for business at the moment. I welcome any questions.
That's right. Any questions? Very well, then we'll move right along. Next, we have unfinished business. David,
No, sir.
Bill,
No, sir.
Mike,
No, sir.
LaDonna.
No, sir.
I have nothing. Rick,
No, sir.
Bob,
No, sir.
Holly,
No, sir.
Mr. Talley. Pete, Harvey.
No, sir.
Okay.
So do you want to swing back to me real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. Walton was here and he was mentioning this desire for this handshake agreement. I don't know what we need to do to continue to move forward with this project. Is he good just kind of looking at it and seeing where he can cut costs without us giving him this handshake agreement? I guess that was kind of left. He was kind of asking for that. We didn't give it to him. I was kind of just wondering where we left that and what needs to happen with that.
I think it depends on the answer from Mo Parks.
Yeah, that's the whole.
And then from there, we'll look at design build process.
Right, it won't be just a handshake agreement.
Right.
Cities can't do that.
Design build has gotten really popular with municipalities, any public funded thing.
Okay, well, we'll wait for the answer back from Parks first. That sounds good.
I would imagine I will hear from you tomorrow morning or tomorrow.
Good.
She's really fast to get back with me. Sometimes if it's too much of an email, she'll just call me and we'll talk. So I'm sure that we'll hear back from her pretty quick.
I just have a question. Is that typical on bids that they don't want to give you the numbers? That just seems outrageous to me.
No, public bids, that is absolutely common. A lot
Silly, right?
of the engineering, on engineering like we do, not specifically a building, but say we go out for bid on a big sewer project. You know, you're gonna see 5, 10 specific line items, and that's it. And you will get a cost per cubic yard or a cost per linear foot, you know, depending on what it is. You're not going to get a specific breakdown on a 90 elbow. That's going to be all included with. You're not going to get a price on an 8-inch valve. That's all included in that one price. That's
Seems like a lot of wiggle room for that.
Well, like when we built the church, I mean, we had a bid and we had plans, and then like the whole front of the building was supposed to be all glass. And we decided, oh, well, that's too expensive, so we took like, I don't know, over half the glass out of the front of the building. So that value engineering stuff, so he's talking about too, that, you know, working with this once he knows he's got the contract.
Right.
that's what he was talking about. That's the problem with a GC style contract, which we've done tons of them, is that you don't see all of that. And there is space in there for changes that are not authorized. Because it relies totally on our inspection or the construction inspection process. And somebody that is totally familiar with building plans. You know, so the guy's looking at those plans and it's supposed to have a 90 here and a valve here and then another 90 here. He's got to know all of that stuff. And that's where that unauthorized wiggle room comes in on a GC contract. On a design build contract, it's not that way.
Is that it? How about new business, Holly?
The only thing I was gonna mention, I spoke with Steve about maybe getting some signs for like bus stops, children present signs, if anybody else might want some of those. Have interest in that.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's a good idea.
That's all.
Bob?
Nothing.
Just a
Rick?
question on that, those signs we looked at, the speed limit things. Were we thinking about doing that maybe?
Think about what, 4 of them?
4 of them right now, and I'll get costing on those 4 if we want to do it. Speed limit,
The ones
power
that they.
signs.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah, those are cool.
Because we could put them out there about when you guys aren't doing
Yeah,
soccer.
when I have that with soccer, yeah.
Are those the kinds
Surprisingly
that you can
inexpensive.
move?
What?
Are we looking at the kind you can move? Like
Yes,
Yeah.
ones with batteries.
Yeah.
Because you said the batteries last a month,
They're adjustable.
and we won't be using them. It'll probably last us more than that, because we'll be using them 24 hours a day.
Well, you buy an extra set of batteries.
Yeah.
You just swap them out instead of having to take the whole sign down or something like
That's all I have.
So, yeah. My only thing is, I will not be here next meeting. I'll be out of town. So I won't be here. That's something up that. Donna?
Just one thing, I know it's been a while, I'll try to be quick. I'm just throwing this out there so people can think about it, because I know we don't make decisions the night that we present it. But there was something that I was thinking about. I know we've talked about, I asked Elaine about the rates for, like the fee for building permits. permits for the different stuff that we said needed to be revisited and stuff. One thing that I have really thought about over the past few months, and I don't know if anybody else thinks it's a good idea or we could do it, but when we put our storm shelter in, I got the building permit, we got it inspected, everything's great. I don't have a problem with it. But in the interest of safety for our residents, I had wondered if we should still require people to get their building permits so it can be inspected, the site can be checked out, but maybe waive that building permit. Do something we could change in the structure for storm shelters. It's not that big of an amount, but maybe if it would give people a break when they're trying to put in a storm shelter, who knows, maybe it may encourage them. And if we could put out word that we were changing that, then maybe it would make people start thinking storm shelter.
I know that there is a section of code that allows for a waiver of some fees.
But that's in the case of
Economic development and
disaster.
disaster.
Right. That followed the tornado back in
Yep. 03.
Yeah, so, but just something to think about. And I don't know if we can do it. I don't know if you guys think it would help, but I was just trying to think of some way when I went out the other day and was cleaning around ours.
To clarify, you're just thinking about a total elimination of the fee,
Of
correct?
that fee.
See, that's just a code revision.
That's just
Yeah, there's no waiver involved. That's
Yeah, code.
just amend the code.
But like I say, I know we have to think on these things, so I don't expect anybody, but I wanted to put it out there and see maybe if it's something we could think about doing.
That is $75,
Something like that.
something like that.
Like I say, it's not gonna make or break a project, but it is something that when you're adding it together and it's like, now I gotta pay 75 for this. Yeah, we would eat the time, that it takes, but like you say, they're on the clock anyhow. And it does not take that long to go out and inspect. I mean, it's basically, yeah, that's okay to put it there. And then come back out and go, yeah, it looks like they put it there. It's about it.
$75.
Anyhow, and I don't even think we really make that much off it, but it's just something to try to encourage people to be prepared. Not that a storm will ever hit Conner Junction. That's all.
Thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah, that's a little positive. That's all I have.
Mike,
I have nothing to say.
Bill, David, new business, Sally, Elena, Driscoll.
No, sir.
What?
What?
Harvey, is there any business for the council?
Will we adjourn?
Motion by Rick Flynn, second by Deb Fowler, we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 70 affirmative, one absent. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for attending. Did they give in on your installation?